In this video, we're going to be talking about grouping sets within SQL. This is a fairly easy concept and it allows you to do some really powerful things. This is a concept that I didn't really know about until recently, and now that I know, I'm kind of amazed I had never seen it used in SQL before. Quick caveat here, just in case there's some syntactical errors, we apologize for that. We try to do everything as correctly and accurately as possible, but occasionally in the copying and pasting, there can be an issue into PowerPoint. Okay, before we get too detailed here in the SQL, let's look at our basic structure of financial accounts within our data set. So in this case, we have a parent account called general funds, and then there's two sub accounts, one for each campus in our hypothetical church here. So just kind of keep this hierarchy in mind as we look at our SQL. Okay, first SQL statement here, nothing special. This is something that I'm sure all of you have done before, kind of highlighting just certain pieces and pushing back pieces that don't really matter. Basically what we're doing is we're just querying on financial transaction details, linking to the financial transaction, the account, the payment detail, and the financial account also to get the parent financial account. We're only getting data for 1 year, January through December of 2020. And in this case, we are limiting it to a specific parent account. Okay, so we're only going to be dealing with the general fund giving. We're grouping just normally as we have forever on the account name and the parent account name. Okay, so nothing you probably haven't done here. Now, I always thought that the group by statement was pretty much as simple as this, that you just provided the values you wanted here, and then you get to use those up in your select, and then everything else has to be an aggregate. And, I thought, well, that's all there is to group by. But there's actually this concept called grouping sets. And in a sense, we're kind of using it here. We have an implied set of only one different configuration, but you can provide different configurations within this group by, and then group by different things all at once. And because you're doing it all at once in one statement, it's actually very, very fast. Okay, so let's take a look at that syntax. Oh, before we do that, let's look at the results. Okay, so we're just basically returning the parent account name and then the sub account, and then we're just summing based on different types of payment details. Okay, and then putting a total at the end. Okay, so now let's look at the new syntax. It starts out just the same way, group by, and then now we just say grouping sets. So these are our configurations, okay? And so I provided 3 different configurations. Now if I commented out or deleted these 2 lines here and just left this line, I would have the exact same syntax and the exact same results as the previous one. So this grouping sets is implied if you only give one. Okay, so now what I'm basically saying here is like, hey, I just want to group by the account and its parent, just like I did before. But hey, I also want to group by just the parent, and I want to group by everything that's returned by our where clause. I want to also group by that all at the same time. Okay, and so the results will look something like this. Lines 3 and 4 come from the first grouping set. Lines 2 comes from the second, and that kind of makes sense, right? We said we want to just group by the parent account name. Okay, so then therefore our other one will be null. And so this is kind of a summary of that. And the third set is the top one. Okay, and so we're just saying, hey, group by everything. And so in that case, we're going to have null, null, and we're just going to have a roll up of all of that. And now in our use case here, lines 1 and 2 give you the same numbers because we're only filtering on items inside of the general fund. Okay, so this is really, really powerful and very quick. Like if you wanted to do this before and you didn't know about this trick, you'd have to write 3 different queries to get it. Or you have to do some weird logic inside of your Lava to kind of like summarize these things in different ways. And you don't have to do that anymore. So that's the basics and the probably the 80-20. This is the stuff that you're going to use the most often. There is another quick little thing you can do too. Same exact query, except I've added 2 lines at the top. And so if I want to know if we're actually grouping on this column for that return line, I can add these 2 statements, okay? And let's just look at how that differs. So now it's kind of like a little bit flag that tells me if the column that I'm looking at is part of the grouping. So down here, again, looking at our first 2, these aren't being, these are not part of the aggregate. Okay, so they're all going to have zeros. Both of those are zeros. As we come up to this one, then we're grouping on the parent, so the child will be part of the aggregate. Okay, and that's why you have this. And then the top one, we're grouping on everything, so these 2 would be part of the aggregate. So you could actually return these, and then this would help you in your Lava on how you might want to use and filter out as you iterate over the collection of what to show, which is pretty cool. So I hope this is a feature that you learned for the first time, and hopefully you see a lot of different use cases for that in making your SQL more performant and more powerful.